पता है हाँ भाई विकास हाँ विकास हाँ बोलिए तो ज्ञान दो यार तो देखिए
जगह तो भाई
नहीं आया तो यार
अरे जगह पे बैठना है अरे ना ना भाई मुझसे बैठना मेरा मन
ऑर्केस्ट्रा चल रहा है। ओए
इसको भगा खाना मत करो यहाँ हेलो हेलो और कौन है पीछे बढ़िया है उसमें नहीं ज्यादा सही आगे नहीं खाता है
आज तो कर ही रहा अगर कॉर्पोरेट करोगे तो अच्छा रहेगा नहीं कॉर्पोरेट करोगे तो भी अच्छा रहेगा अगली बार इसके फॉर्म में करें बाकी लोगों को बोला शिवम को बोला था
बोल रहा है जिंदाबाद अभी तुम हमारा इसका वीडियो बना ठीक है प्रॉक्सी मारेगा और मार अभी क्या इसका तुम गोजो तो मार लो मैं समझा कोई मैं बात करने हेलो तो ना
नहीं
हाँ। नहीं खाने सकते हाँ बोलो हाँ ये कारण इसके मेरे पास 10-15
आप लोग थर्ड लाइन थर्ड नहीं रोका था नहीं
गाली गाली गिराना चाहता हमारे तो
काम हो गया
आगे
सबको समझ में आ रहा है क्या? आगे जाना अभी दिख रही तो मैंने बोला था ना
नहीं गांधी जी को बोलता हूँ
जैकेट वाले कोई बात जैकेट वाले कोई बात सारी बात
बस फर्स्ट वाली छोड़ दो बेटा, उधर चल जाओ, उधर ही जाना है बेटा। बेटा कहाँ कहाँ, उधर 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 आके आ जाओ, आ जाओ आ जाओ आ जाओ बेटा, आप उठ जाओ उठ जाओ। सर्टिफिकेट तो मिलेगी। हाँ बेटा उठ जाओ।
बोल दो कौन सा सवाल
यूनिफॉर्म वाला, यूनिफॉर्म वालों को
मैं वीडियो बता दूं
यूनिफॉर्म की पहन के
कल तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं बर्थडे
अभी आगे नंबर दो तीन अभी से किसी को जाने नहीं देना है, सबको अभी आगे जब सब बोलना हो जाए तो तब तक पीछे हो जाएगा। अरे नीचे और
मैं कर रही हूँ कॉल, चलो।
नीचे बोलते रहना सबको वीडियो कर दिया आगे
हम भी तो हम भी तो हमारा तो
नहीं,
ज्यादा हम कर भी नहीं सकते तो बच्चे पकड़ के
पाँच को आ गए।
खराब बेटी कुमार
लंबा तो माता नहीं
हेलो,
क्यों मच रहा है इसको पता है तो ये तो नहीं मार सकता क्यों मच रहता है मैं नहीं चाहूंगा चलो मैं पढ़ा बैठा चल तो सर करा देंगे निदान संग करवा दूं कौन वाला हाँ जन्म से लेकर के निदान करवाते हैं हम जन्म से लेकर के जन्म से लेकर के तक करवाते हैं से लेकर के सलाद करवाते करूँगा वो वाले
एकदम आगे चल सर, बस सीट से कटना है
क्या पढ़ना बोले तो क्या करें बोले कि मंत्र पढ़ते हैं
भाई आगे आगे आगे, वहाँ पीछे नहीं जाना, इधर आ जाओ।
घंटा कर लो, बंद कर लो।
चार वाले
Please, people, please.
बैठना।
चार वाले ना
चांस भी मन लगता है। बाद में तुम लोग अगर बताएंगे तो पड़ेगा। आगे मैं तो गेट पे जाऊंगा, बच्चे बात नहीं
बोला तो किसी खाता करना
Knowledge doesn't enter the session. Define its true purpose in action. With this thought, a very good afternoon to everyone present here. On behalf of Vivekananda Global University, it is my honor and privilege to warmly welcome our Honorable Chief Guest, Team Keynote Speaker, respected dignitaries, distinguished scholars, faculty members, researchers, delegates, and dear students. To the valedictory ceremony of the 4th International Conference, Anubhuti 4.0, Discourses in Indian Knowledge System, Pathways of Culture, Inclusion, and Sustainability. As we gather for this valedictory session, we are not simply concluding an event, we are acknowledging a collective journey of ideas. The discussions held here will continue to resonate beyond the auditorium, shaping research, dialogue, and responsible action. Looking ahead, the true success of this conference lies in how its ideas move forward into classrooms, communities, institutions, and policy conversations. May the insights gained here inspire future research, informed leadership, and thoughtful engagement with society. With this spirit of continuity and purpose, we once again welcome you all to the valedictory ceremony of Anubhuti 4.0 and thank you for being part of this meaningful academic journey. May we now request the dignitaries, Chief Guest, Honorable Professor N.K. Pandey, Sir, Keynote Speaker Professor Dr. Smita Srinivas, Ma'am, Engineer CEO of BU, Onkar Bagaria, Sir, and Professor DVS, Sir, BU to kindly come up on the stage. We now have the privilege of introducing a leader whose vision continues to strengthen the academic and institutional excellence and standing of Vivekananda Global University in the leading educational institution of our country. He is a remarkable individual who has left an indelible mark in the fields of education, entrepreneurship, and mentoring. He is a true visionary, a leader, and an educationist. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcome with a resounding round of applause. Engineer Onkar Bagaria, Sir, CEO Vivekananda Global University.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
I, on my personal behalf, and on the behalf of VG family, welcome Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, and Smita Ma'am, for this 23rd session of 2 days conference called Anubhuti. I just want to know what does Anubhuti means. Can anyone tell me what is Anubhuti? कोई भी raise your hand. So from 2 days you are listening and trying to be part of this Anubhuti. What is Anubhuti? Self-awareness. Not the perfect answer. Self-realization. Near about. Anubhuti basically means experiencing something. Right? So you are experiencing this 2 days conference from your point of view and you are perceiving what it is. The second question is why this conference and why there is suddenly a talk about Indian knowledge system. What was the need of this conference or this dialogue of this part? इसकी क्या जरूरत थी कॉन्फ्रेंस कराने? इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम वेद वगैरह सब बहुत पुराने सालों से हमारे पास है, भगवत गीता हम सभी पढ़ते हैं, क्या ऐसी पुराण भी पढ़ते हैं, ऐसी क्या जरूरत आई कि हम इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम के बारे में बात करें? इसके लिए कॉन्फ्रेंस कराएं इन एन एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन विच प्राइमरीली of course we have humanities faculty and the management faculty, but primarily a technical institution, more of professional courses. What was the need to have a conference on Indian knowledge system or have subjects for you student on Indian knowledge system or a minor degree on Indian knowledge system? कोई Anyone, any guests, any delegate who can tell? आप हम बोलेंगे आपको मौका मिलेगा, but I just want to give all of your thought that why we wanted to have a conference called Anubhuti on Indian knowledge system. Of course, idea भूला मैम, मालिका मैडम और डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ ह्यूमैनिटीज एंड प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट का ज्यादा है, विवेक सर का भी इसमें काफी रोल है, बट फ्रॉम माय पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू there is a slight need, and the need comes from two factors. One is this world is AI world, right? And in the AI world, everything is available on your tips. The knowledge which we are trying to deliver to you in the classes, it is in your tips. There might be a theory professor from Harvard or from BHU or from IIT who has very good oratory skills, mentoring skills, and he will be able to deliver online what many of us would not be able to. But the experience of a physical education system, the education institution as experience zone or activity zone is totally different. It is not only the classroom teaching, but how your friend takes it, how your colleague teaches you, how you know different perspectives of different cultures, and then that's the experience which you come here for, and for what the current education institutions are. We are not here to teach theory, but we are here to give experience, and the experience is Anubhuti. So the Anubhuti for Indian knowledge system, and why a conference? In the AI world, whatever is written and whatever LLMs and AIs of today's world can read and give you, that is the truth. We were fighting from hundreds of years, saying that कि हमारी history वैसी नहीं है जैसी किताबों में लिखी हुई है, या हमारी practices वो नहीं है जो किताबों में लिखी हुई है, and we are still talking about that, but now it is more worse. What is worse? What is digitally available? What is digitally available is the truth in the AI world. It is not what you know or what you say. आप अगर वहां AI वर्ल्ड में लिखा होता कि कृष्ण जी ने नहीं, अर्जुन ने ज्ञान दिया था, तो हो सकता है AI वही आंसर देगा और हमारी फ्यूचर जनरेशन को यही लगेगा कि ज्ञान अर्जुन जी ने दिया था और कृष्ण जी ने उस ज्ञान को ग्रस्त किया, right? And therefore there is a need to do discussions, do research and write digitally, talk about this so that a total digital database is available for the future generations to have the knowledge of Indian knowledge system or the Indian practices, our own practices, our own culture. And if we are able to publish research on that, that will be the truth. And in the AI world, that is very, very, very important. And that's why in conferences like this, wherein you discuss, and then publish. Please publish. If you don't publish, then someone else will publish. बासमती राइस पंजाब में होता है, आईपी यूएस में लिया था और बहुत साल तक हम लड़ते रहे। तो सभी चीजें की आगे की फ्यूचर जनरेशन फेस ना करें, आप अपना आईपी लूज ना करें, आप अपनी आइडेंटिटी लूज ना करें, you need to publish and do research. And that's very important, and that's why I think this conference, which is happening 4th year in a row, will play its own part of contributing to the Indian knowledge system. I welcome once again all those who have an interest in preserving and publishing this Indian knowledge through their own way, in the way they perceive it, and with the proper case studies and proper logic, because in today's world that matters a lot. If you don't give your own logic and someone counters it, it becomes very difficult. So I feel these 4 conference 2 days would have been fruitful for all. We have tried our best, and whatever we could not do, we will do in the fifth conference. Welcome once again, everyone. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you very much, sir, for a thoughtful and encouraging words. In the Indian academic tradition, honoring a guest is a mark of reverence for wisdom, service, and contribution. It is a way of expressing our gratitude to those who guide, inspire, and enrich our academic journey. With this spirit of respect, may I now invite CEO of Vivekananda Global University, Engineer Omkar Bagaria sir, to kindly felicitate our honorable chief guest, Professor N.K. Pandey sir. Also, to kindly felicitate our keynote speaker, Dr. Smita Srinivas ma'am. Thank you, sir. As we proceed further, it's time to look back at the last 2 days of this conference that has dignitaries, speakers, scholars, and participants share invaluable insights, extensive knowledge, and thought-provoking ideas related to Indian knowledge system. It is time for a reflection of the academic journey and scholarly engagement that shaped this conference. For presenting the conference report, may I now invite Professor Dr. Vikas Sotria Sir, Associate Dean, Faculty of Management, Vivekananda Global University, to shortly present the conference report.
Good afternoon, everyone. Respected chief guests, distinguished speakers, esteemed delegates, faculty members, and participants. It gives me immense pride and satisfaction to present the conference report of the 4th International Conference, Anubhuti 4.0, Discourses in Indian Knowledge Systems, Pathways of Culture, Inclusion and Sustainability, held on 12th and 13th February 2026 at VGU, Jaipur. Over these 2 intellectually vibrant days, the conference witnessed remarkable academic engagement at both national and international levels. We received around 237 research papers from scholars across India and from countries including United States, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. After a rigorous peer review process, 189 papers were selected for presentation across 6 thematic technical sessions. The conference was inaugurated in the gracious presence of Dr. Arun Chaturvedi, Chairman of 7th Finance Commission of Rajasthan and former Cabinet Minister, as our chief guest for the inaugural session. The keynote address by Mr. Raghav Krishnan, founder and CEO of Rahat Foundation, set the intellectual tone of the conference by emphasizing sustainability rooted in indigenous wisdom. A major highlight of this conference was the participation of 20 esteemed speakers. Though all are not present here, but please give a big round of applause for the speakers. And thought leaders in Indian knowledge systems. We are honored to host distinguished academicians, including Professor Vijay Singh, Dr. Pravina Rodriguez from California, Ms. Kavita Krishnan Migma, Dr. Nagaraj Paturi, Dr. Bharat Das, Professor Ami Upadhyay, Professor Neelam Panchal, Professor Anupama Riali, Dr. Prashant Dharmadhikari, Mr. Vishwa Janani Satigeri, Dr. P.N. Ravindra, Professor Manish Arora, and Dr. M.P. Rajani, among others. Their scholarly deliberation enriched discussions on ecology, governance, pedagogy, philosophy, holistic health, innovation, and intellectual property in traditional knowledge. The conference also featured an engaging panel discussion on interdisciplinary harmonization and workshop on traditional knowledge, including intellectual property rights and ethics. These deliberations reinforce the need of balanced preservation and innovation. As we move into the valedictory session, we are honored to have Dr. Smita Srinivas from University College London and Professor N.K. Pandey, Vice Chancellor of Haridev Joshi University of JMC, Rajasthan, whose presence further elevates this academic gathering. Anubhuti 4.0 has truly emerged as a meaningful platform that integrates India's civilizational wisdom with contemporary global discourse. The collective insights shared here will certainly improve future research, policy dialogue, and sustainable practices rooted in Indian knowledge system. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all speakers, delegates, organizing committee members, and volunteers whose dedication makes this conference a success. And before I take off the stage, a huge round of applause for the candidate, Dr. Shimal Chaudhary, and the team. Thank you.
Thank you very much for presenting such a comprehensive overview of the conference proceedings. Economic progress is more powerful than technology, culture, and human values move forward together. With this thought, it is my honor to introduce Professor Dr. Smita Srinivas Ma'am, Honorary Professor, University College, London, Department of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Public Policy. Visiting Professor, the Open University, UK. Smita Srinivas Ma'am is a globally influential thinker. He specializes in economic development with a unique combination of scholarly and practical impact areas of economic development, including technological innovation, industrial policy, knowledge, and culture. He is the recipient of the Swan Robinson Prize in 2015 by the European Association for Evolutionary Political Economy and recognized as the 21st Clarence E. Ayres Scholar from the Association for Evolutionary Economy, USA, with a PhD from MIT in Economic Development and Technology Planning. Numerous fellowships at Harvard Kennedy School of Government Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs. He has over 3 decades of experience teaching students in the world's leading university and in multiple departments and research centers. He speaks fluently, frequently to university communities and to students committed to the fit of students to their chosen goals and to learning to live a full life well beyond their training. As a higher education advisor, director, co-founder, or chair of committees in multiple countries, he has designed or led economic development programs with a sustainability and health focus. Srinivas ma'am has held full-time professor, fellow or visiting and honorary faculty appointments in the world's leading university in diverse schools and centers. This includes at Columbia University, Harvard University, the Innocent Institute, the Open University UK, the London School of Economics and Political Science, University College London, the National Centre for Biological Sciences, the Indian Institute of Science, the MIT Industrial Performance Center, and multiple think tanks. He has been an advisor to Global Fortune 500 companies, global councils and foundations, non-profit, governments, and multilateral and international development agencies. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Professor Dr.
I think we was significantly upgraded my wardrobe today. So I really want to thank also the organizers. I'm coming into Anubhuti 4.0, but I understand this has been an evolution over the last few years. And I have to say, I'm very grateful to be here. I've learned a lot over the last few days. And it's a chance to really speak to all of you and to particularly address the young people in the audience. Let me just today's talk is, can you all hear me in the back?
Yes.
Yeah. Today's talk is really focused on those of you who are much less gray than me, who are at the cusp of a very exciting career, and for you also to understand that some of the disciplines you have taken for granted are not the disciplines you thought they were. So in today's talk, although I will quickly go through some changes that have taken place in economics, I want you to take personal responsibility for your future and to delve much more deeply into some of the ideas I put across today. Also, just like some of our speakers before were describing, you may think a conference is something that you have to kind of sit through, listen to, take away a little bit here and there. The reason we have conferences is for an exchange of ideas and for perspectives about what is cutting edge in your field. If you don't attend conferences and you don't get the responsibility to understand the perspectives of what is being discussed, you will not reflect the cutting edge in whatever discipline you go into, whether or not you go forward into other degrees. So the responsibility lies with you, just as with knowledge. Knowledge is everywhere around us. What we decide to take of that knowledge is our responsibility. And that is actually at the heart of Indian knowledge system. It is one of the four grounding ideas that our swabhava, our gunas, our doshas, are things that we have to be conscious of, and we will find the perfect relationship with knowledge. Now, today I'm just going to discuss simple bridges. And the bridge is a metaphor. What is it a metaphor of? We have all, I, by the way, did not come to economics immediately. I began in physics and mathematics. So I came to economics much later. And when I was doing my doctoral work, for example, I realized that one of the big problems is that even within the STEM sectors, there is a kind of misunderstanding of the scientific method. And we think of the scientific method as something quite dry and we look for reproducibility. But in fact, the core of the scientific method is the ability to look at new knowledge and discover it in a way that is unique. And that aspect, which of course a very famous economist has already talked about, is that imitation in the scientific technique will get you nowhere. It will get you a certain kind of validation, but it will not get you anywhere in terms of advancing a field. So for the young amongst you, the better metaphor is to think of this Padma-Shri winner. All of you probably saw this award. How many of you saw the award or know who this is?
The message on.
How many of you know who this is? He is this past year's Padma Shri winner for what are called the living bridges of Meghalaya. And it is a technique to build a bridge which requires a very patient grafting of materials from the roots and the trunks of trees into bridges that strengthen over time. I cannot tell you how good this is as a metaphor for what Anubhuti is trying to accomplish. It is something that over a period of time will strengthen, and you have a role to play. So he talks not just about his childhood, but he also talks about the length and commitment in time to building and sustaining that bridge. 50 years, right? I was one of you not so many years ago, right? So for those of us who are older, we all see ourselves amongst you. And before you know it, you will be us. Hopefully you will be much better than us. And the bridge, therefore, is the metaphor. The first part, the second, third, fourth part of the bridge you have to build is before you. I'm going to argue that the first bridge in economic development is not a bridge in economics of products. It is not a bridge of per capita income. It is a bridge about institutional change. What are institutions? Institutions are the things that are happening right before our eyes that we don't even observe. They are the customs. We have talked the last few days about customs. We have talked about the norms by which we live in India, that we are somehow different from other places. The start of that awareness is itself part of that institutional change. So India's position, India's ability to recognize its position is itself a changing of the customs, norms, rules, policies, guidelines, regulations by which we live. So when we import, for example, new defense, we have new defense procurement guidelines, or we decide that new policy stakeholderism is necessary for the SDGs. Suppose we reject the SDGs altogether, or we say that the old patent regime was not good enough. We don't simply need to protect our IP, we need to expand our knowledge in certain areas. These are all the changing norms, guidelines, standards that we build. So economic development is not per capita change. Economic development is actually transformation of these things that takes place. The second part is that this is how we traditionally think about the art of development. This is the Human Development Index, and we often say, we were here, we are now there. But in reality, what is happening is we are in a process of institutional change across every moment, which is how we get to some place like this. So when we say, have we got there? The right question you should be asking yourself is, what is the right comparison we are making about those institutions and the change of these institutions over time? So we know this institutional change is important. How do we know it? You all lived through COVID. You all saw that during COVID, many things changed. You want to give me some examples of what changed during COVID? Sorry? Some kinds of digitalization changed, right? Many of you went online. What else changed? Some of you started working from home, right? In the workforce, many people started working from home. As earlier speaker said, we suddenly started saying namaste. We didn't automatically reach out our hand. There were many things that changed. The changes might have been structured a certain way, but they were changes in customs, norms, guidelines, standards, all the things I just described. And we discovered that certain kinds of industries were far more robust to those changes, and some were deeply vulnerable during COVID, and then slowly came back. And we saw this too. I studied industrial transformation and technological change. What occurred in India in the moving of oxygen across railroads is the largest ever such movement since World War II. Nobody had seen anything on this scale and depth that took place in India. So you should be looking critically at these events because there's something really transformational. And notice what is happening on the right side. Multiple changes of institutions in different industries over time. So institutional change is not single industries, it is multiple industries happening at once. So in fact, institutional change, the first one was institutional change is economic development and vice versa. You could say that combinatorial change is actually crucial. So the economy is not about statics. If you learned that the economy was like physics, you're wrong. The economy is actually much closer to the quantum mechanical end than it is the Newtonian end. But even physics is a bad metaphor. Economics is actually incredibly dynamic, and you are part of that dynamism. Before I get to the second bit, I want to make the point that these concepts and these ideas are not just metaphors. The bulk of my work is actually in advising and consulting, i.e., practical problems that solve certain kinds of problems for different groups. So I spend a lot of my time working with companies, with government agencies, with nonprofits, with universities, university labs. So your future is not to take a kind of dry economics and say these concepts are not so important. These concepts actually are crucial to solving everyday problems. How many of you think you're going to go into consulting or run a startup or for consulting? How many of you? None of you? You are missing an incredible opportunity. One here. Yeah. Who else? It's an incredible opportunity for a startup. So when you say, AI, what do you mean? In fact, the ability to solve a problem is what consulting is. People will call you and say, come and help me solve a problem. You should be agile enough to be able to train your skills in terms of the last one. The second bridge, so the first bridge was what? Institutional change and economic development. The second bridge is variety. Over the last 2 days, you have heard हमारे बहुत से संप्रदाय हैं. We have many different customs. We have many different ways across the country. That is the core of understanding institutional change. We know we are not like Sweden. We know we are not like the US. How do we know? We know because in India, institutional variety is extremely high. For a country like Germany, it is much more standardized. There are many fewer differences in the society. We may call it rich. We may say rich here. Our culture is rich. What we actually mean is institutional variety is high. So one of the most important examples that took place in the last 100 years was of Japan. Japan's economic transformation, again, institutional change, was a suppression through the Meiji Reformation. How many of you know what the Meiji Reformation is? Please go look at it. It is your responsibility to understand what happened in Japan. Because the Japan today was not the Japan of before. We all know that. But why do we aspire to be Japan? What we should be asking is, what is it about Japan that made them so different? What combination of Japanese institutions make them so famous for pottery that they then became, through the development of ceramics, the cutting edge of semiconductor fabrication? How did those take place in their cities? So what is old, so-called old, and what is cutting edge is actually remarkably closely linked. This is the second part of what we should take away. So ideas of modernization and so on are these combinations of institutions, and it is up to us to decide where we want to go. The third bridge is what methodology do we use to study things that look complex? Because you will be called to advise in very few years. You will incubate, you will create startups, you may go work for firms, you may work in universities, but you will end up having to convince others, not just yourself. You have to convince others that there is a solution to their problem. And to do that, you have to be able to work with different methodologies. So in terms of your time, I would very strongly recommend to you that you absorb as many research methodologies as you can in your time set, as many different kinds of methods. Don't say, I'm in mathematics, I'm not going to study sociology. Don't say, I'm in sociology, I'm not going to study psychology. Please don't do that. Knowledge is built and constructed in your disciplines through actually a very integrated history. Economics and biology, for example, have compared and exchanged notes multiple times over the last 150 years. So when we think of what my areas are, which are institutional and evolutionary economics, we ask questions such as the following. If I can explain in my model of innovation why India has come up with a new MRI machine, which is less expensive, more compact, more easily bought, dispersed, procured, why is it that I cannot, with that same model, explain why we were able to build the Kailash temple in Ellora? Your model, your concept, your framework has to explain both these periods, or has to build your chronology in a way that you can answer this question. So theory, what I want to say to you is that theory is not a dry subject. Theory is the beating heart of your disciplines. And theory is the beating heart of your methodologies, because it will challenge you to come up with solutions for your clients, for your partner agencies. And this is how you will build out your career. And so the question of what is non-equilibrium, what is stochastic, how do you deal with uncertainty? These are at the core of new economic areas. And I hope that you will engage with these. If your attitude is, well, ये तुम्हें class में नहीं पढ़ा है. That is not the attitude. Every bit of information is available to you today. You have, in fact, your generation has very few excuses because you have so much information available. So when we think of institutional variety, the bulk of economics has focused on convergence theories. We look at convergence. How will we become like Europe? How will we become like Japan? This is the wrong question. The question should be that there are 4 C's: conversion, cohesion, customization, and cognition. And this is in my work. I spend a lot of time on this. The more variety you have, the burden of proof theoretically is to show that these processes can be explained in a case-by-case basis. So just to speed up here, if you go back and you look at this HDI graph, you need to be able to explain the petrochemical supply chain, the chemical supply chain. You should be able to say whether or not you reject the SDGs. There's nothing inevitable about the SDGs. The SDGs just happen to be the current framework which are pushing us to a certain type of look and engagement. So So very briefly in the remaining time, I'm going to just expose you to one methodology which I use a lot. And these are called heuristics. And heuristics are the kind of thing that are used in computer science, they're used in engineering, they're used in mathematics, they're used in economics, in many different fields. When you go to an operating room, the doctor doesn't ask you every question. The doctor asks in the ER only those critical questions that they need in order to work. So they are a small list of critical pieces of information that you need in order to act in a situation that is urgent. There are several contexts. You can go to this paper. By the way, one thing I want to say, all of these papers are open access. So when I put them up on the screen, it is your job to go read them. So heuristics can be used in certain contexts to make a convincing argument about how to work in certain contexts. And these cases on the right-hand side are cases where we are actually using these to look and solve certain kinds of problems. So these are two types of heuristics. Those of you who work in computer science or engineering will understand this. These are two heuristics that I sort of developed, tested, used, and they are method agnostic. They look really simple, right? But they can be run iteratively using a series of different kinds of methods. You can use qualitative tests, you can use Monte Carlo simulations, you can use game theory, you can use social network analysis. What are these experiments for? These are kind of thought experiments to solve very practical problems. And they look simple. I urge every one of you to go read these and say, how else could I use this? The good news about thought experiments of this kind, or heuristics, is that they will give you very quickly tests of your own work. In other words, they will tell you how wrong you were, or how to improve your hypotheses very fast. They are a way of refining your work very quickly, and they can be used across disciplines. I'll show you, so in this example, we have run it for COVID diagnostic kits, we've done it for vaccines, we've run it for neonatal incubators. There are studies that look to see how we compare China with Brazil. Should we compare China and India at all? By the way, should we compare China and India at all? No. How do you know? You need a methodology to tell you whether or not that is a reliable indicator. So, towards the end, I just want to say the following. So far, it looks as if these methodologies come from mainstream economics. What I want to tell you is an awful lot of my current work is actually using the Nyaya Shastras or Nyaya Sutras in order to build an active engagement with economics. So far, I have noticed that in most ITS conferences, we cover everything from aesthetics to architecture to dance and so on, but I do not see enough of an engagement around economics. All of you have heard of Aristotle? Okay, why have we heard of Aristotle, but why aren't we teaching Nyaya Shastra straight up in every middle school in the country? We could. It should be required study in any introduction in any university going forward. And for economics in particular, it is absolutely essential. There's a new article coming out on Nyaya Shastra's potential role in a paradigm shift in economics. Again, it will be open access. I urge you all, please, read it, critique it, write back to me and tell me what you didn't like about it. This is how we all improve. This is what knowledge exchange means. It doesn't mean it's only some of us who are older doing this. Every one of you should, how many of you are on LinkedIn? Okay, please get in touch and read this article. Tell me what you liked, didn't like, learned, didn't learn. This is the job of your generation. It is my job to do the same with people I learned from. It never ends. It is always something that we have to do. So here we come to the fourth bridge. The first one was economic development is institutional change. The second bridge was institutional variety is absolutely critical to understanding an economy. The third bridge was in order to look at variety, you need methods. And your methods had better be convincing. I showed you one type of method. And the fourth is you are that last bridge of the grafting to build out the last section of the bridge. What do I mean by this? You have spent an awful lot of time already in formal forms of education. You have a lot of pressures, just like every generation before you had. Do you have more? I don't know. I felt like I had a lot of pressure when I was in university. You are questioning your relationship with your own family, your own customs, where you came from, and so on. And you have a kind of cognitive dissonance already occurring, perhaps maybe because of AI, because of the fact you're all glued to your screens. How many of you are checking your phones right now? Actually, quite admirable that you're all hiding it quite successfully. But the reality is that we're doing it alone. And we are so unaware or unself-aware that we do it instinctively. We all know this. But on the positive side is higher ed is really to build character. And it is used to build skills. So not everybody will go on to a specialist degree, but every one of you, whether this is your last degree or whether this is the start of more degrees, has a responsibility to become deeply skilled in the opportunity you're given. So we have taken ideas and language from the West, the circular economy, we've taken colonial ideas, we use the word caste, which we should not use. Think about the relationship of some of this language to the kind of concepts. On the left, many of you will know what the Panchakoshas are, right? I hope all of you know what it is. But most of economics, not all of economics, but the newer areas of economics, in fact, are forcing us up this, forcing us upward. Mainstream economics is broadly keeping us stuck with the material world. In fact, the newer areas of economics are asking us, why does your behavior change? What new habits did you form? Why can we suggest a new product? How could we do this differently? These are newer areas of economics. The sooner you understand that IKS is not some static thing you do because of anything. You do it because it is the way to be cutting edge in this century. It is absolutely the way to be cutting edge in the coming years. There is a very nice, I'm on my last two slides, so I asked that you focus on this question. Who are you in this last bridge and how will you translate? What identity will you take on? Please take a minute to read this quote. I'm not going to read it out for you. Will you be that person who says soul every time someone says Atma? What kind of translator will you be? Whether or not you want it, you will represent India. Every time you come across somebody from a different country, they will look at you and say, oh, India sent. So you will have an identity imposed on you. Which identity you decide to take on within these forms of translation is a decision you have to make. I will leave you just with sort of 3 thoughts here. Take charge of your education. You are not here, you are no longer here because of your parents. You are here as young people who have to make decisions for your future. You are not taking your disciplines because your professors are telling you to. That is what we call external control. That is not who you are. You have to have the consciousness of your own Swadharma to decide what your path is. But the second is that you are part of a family system and a community system. How you position yourself in that family and community is also up to you. You don't suddenly become a little satellite floating somewhere, directed by other forces. You are from a system, you decide what your relationship is. And the third is, you have to be an articulate part of the economy. You cannot be somebody who is mindlessly consuming. You have to decide which supply chains am I part of. I said that the last bridge is you. You are part of the last part of that supply chain. It does not function without you. So you decide which ones you are participating. Here are two rather different quotes. The one on the left is back to Hayek. The one on the right, how many of you have understood the term libertarian? Somewhere at the back of your minds, right? You've heard the term. Forget the terminology. The idea is that knowledge is something in the economy, it is dynamic, it is spreading all the time. You are an active agent in that economy. But you cannot pretend to control it. You cannot corral it all into one place. On the right side is one of the world's largest organizations that deals with, like the Chinmaya mission, the Satya Sai mission, the Akshardham, all of these have huge investments in education. They are all propagating what we would call IKS in a particular form. The root of knowledge, the heart of the goals of education is character. If you come out of your education without your character developed, then your education has been a failure. So I urge you to think about this in the context of institutional change where I began. So the conclusion is you have 4 bridges to build. 4 bridges. There's no getting away from it. Whether you think you have one life, multiple lives, I leave up to you to decide. But you have to build these bridges. The bridge is not just showing up. Every one of you has to build this bridge. There are 2 courses I offer, and I urge you to think critically, whether you take them with me, you take them with someone else. All of us in universities have to build a kind of mastery in research. Whether you're an undergraduate, you're a graduate student, or you're a PhD postdoc faculty member. And one aspect of these conferences is we want you to become the hub at Vivekananda Global University, to be a hub where everybody says, where is IKS concentrated and how can we do it better? They should be able to say, we feel that. Wahan pe there's a critical mass of people and we should do it. The second is a course that starts in March, which is it's not Economics 101. It's a course that looks at fundamental ideas in the foundations and frontiers of economics. So please, I urge you to go to the website, take a look. But the core idea here is to come back. Take these seriously. This is for the young people in the room. You are past the age where you are taking lessons from others, but you have to listen very carefully in the IKS system. It is at the beating heart of what is cutting edge in the economy. It is not something from the past. It is an active, living future right now where you play a critical role. And anything about India and the world requires you to understand what IKS is about. So I'm very grateful to the organizers, to Bhula Chowdhury ma'am, to several others who have invited me here. And I urge all of you, please, any one of you, reach out to me, think about your relationship to these issues. If you want to understand economic transformation, geopolitics, questions about the role of engineering, science, public policy, please reach out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for illuminating our thinking with your insight and perspectives. We are deeply grateful for your time, wisdom, and for sharing your rich academic experience with us today, especially about heuristics and encouraging students to learn through doing and discovering things. Thank you so much, ma'am.
ज्ञान में प्रकाश है जो केवल स्वयं नहीं चमकता बल्कि समाज और पीढ़ियों को भी आलोकित करता है. With this saying, it is my privilege to introduce a distinguished academician and eminent scholar of Hindi literature, Professor Nandakishore Pandey sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Valedictory University of Journalism and Mass Communication. Professor Pandey sir completed his MA and PhD in Hindi from Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. He began his teaching career at Government College Jhalawar and later served at Government College Kota and Savai Madhopur. In 2000, he joined Rajiv Gandhi University, Itanagar as reader, where he served twice as head of the History department and was promoted to professor in 2008. In 2009, he joined the University of Rajasthan Jaipur as professor. There he served twice as head of the Hindi department, twice as dean of the Faculty of Arts, twice as director of research, and twice as director of the School of Humanities. He also led the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication. From 2015 to 20, he served as director of the Central Institute of Hindi, Agra, under the Ministry of Education, Government of India. He also been chairman of the Commission of Scientific and Technical Terminology, contributing significantly to the development of Indian languages. A prolific author, his important works include संत साहित्य की समझ, संत रजक, दादू पंथा के शिखर संत, आधुनिक भारतीय कविता, भारत बोध और भक्ति कविता, and आधुनिक Hindi and Sanskrit board. Under his leadership, nearly 65 dictionaries in various Indian languages have been compiled. His contributions were appreciated at the national level and he was honored with the Vishwa Hindi Samman at the World Hindi Conference in Fiji. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in warmly welcoming with a thunderous round of applause Professor Nandakishore Pandey sir for his address.
राजस्थान के बहुत ही प्रतिष्ठित विश्वविद्यालय के द्वारा भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा इस विषय पर यह संगोष्ठी आयोजित की गई है और इसमें इस संस्था के प्रमुख हैं डॉक्टर ओमकार बागरिया जी उपस्थित हैं। अभी जिनको हम लोगों ने सुना प्रोफेसर सुता श्रीनिवास जी, डॉक्टर बुला चौधरी जी, विश्वविद्यालय के सभी प्रतिष्ठित प्राध्यापक बंधुओं, प्रिय छात्रों, शुरुआत की गई कि इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा पर 21वीं शताब्दी में फिर से चर्चा करने की जरूरत क्यों पड़ी। कभी हम एकांत में बैठ करके खुद सोचे तो हमको लगेगा कि 140 करोड़ का यह देश है, पाश्चात्य चिंतन और नॉलेज सिस्टम से चलेगा या भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा से चलेगा या दोनों के समन्वय से चलेगा। कितना लेना है और कितना छोड़ना, तो ध्यान में आई बात कि यह जो 140 करोड़ का देश है, इससे बड़े बहुत से देश हैं जहां पर 140 करोड़ आबादी है चीन में, तो हमसे 2.5 गुना से ज्यादा बड़ा क्षेत्रफल है।
लगभग 30 करोड़ आबादी का देश अमेरिका क्षेत्रफल में 3 गुना बड़ा है। 140 करोड़ की उसमें संभावनाएं और विकास की स्थिति कैसे बनती है और हम कहाँ पिछड़ गए। एक दो प्रश्न मैं पूछ लूं लड़कों से जो यहाँ छात्र उपस्थित हैं कि अपने में से कितने लोगों को रोटी बनाने आती है? कितने लोगों ने बाजरे की खेती की? खेती की है नहीं है? कितने रागी के पौधे को पहचान सकते हैं? कितने सवा पहचान सकते हैं? कितने लोगों ने ज्वार की खेती की है? देखा है? आगे का प्रश्न नहीं पूछू। अभी मोटे अन्न को माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने श्री अन्न कहा। सबसे ताकतवर अन्न रागी और बाजरा। पढ़ लेना, रागी और बाजरा, जिससे हम अपरिचित होते थे। भारतीय नॉलेज सिस्टम ने अपने ज्ञान को शास्त्र, कथा और प्रसंगों के माध्यम से समझाया। पूर्वोत्तर भारत से एक प्रसंग को महाभारत में लिया गया। अर्जुन बहुत दूर तक निकल गए, मानसरोवर से आगे। महाभारत की कथा कैसे इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम को भारतीय महाकाव्य अंशुत करते हैं और जिनको न पढ़ने से केवल बासमती का बेहतर उदाहरण आपने दिया, तो मुझे लगा कि थोड़े से अपने व्याख्यान को उस तरफ मोड़ना चाहिए। आगे बढ़ते चले गए। एक नदी को देखा, नदी के भीतर कुछ काले काले फल बहते हुए आ रहे थे। किसी व्यक्ति से पूछा कि मैं रास्ता भटक गया हूँ, अपने अज्ञातवास उस व्यक्ति ने उस जगह का परिचय दिया कि आप जम्बू द्वीप के इस खंड में हैं। इस नदी में जो फल प्रवाहित हो रहा है, बह रहा है, वह जामुन का फल है और इस फल के कारण यहाँ के लोग इतने स्वस्थ और सुंदर हैं। अब जामुन थोड़े समय के लिए मार्केट में आता है। महाभारतकार ने व्यास जी ने कथा में जामुन के फल के गुणों की चर्चा नहीं, चर्चा किए बिना वह व्यक्ति बतलाता है कि जामुन का फल खाकर के ये लोग स्वस्थ और सुंदर। आज रामदेव जी के कारण ही सही, अन्य वैद्यों के कारण, भारत सरकार के कारण, प्रांतीय सरकारों के कारण, जब आयुर्वेदिक औषधि के रूप में खास करके शुगर के लिए, डायबिटीज के लिए, कि जामुन का जो चूर्ण है वो शुगर में फायदेमंद है। फल नहीं, फल तो है ही, जामुन का बीज, जिस चर्चा कथा के माध्यम से महाभारत में बतलाई गई, ये है भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को समझने का स्रोत। प्रकृति की चिंता। दुनिया में शायद ही कोई ऐसा देश होगा जहां एक पेड़ को बचाने के लिए, वृक्ष को बचाने के लिए सैकड़ों लोगों ने अपना जान दिया।
आज भी उसी वृक्ष के लिए कल तक धरना, खेजड़ी का वृक्ष रेगिस्तान में स्वतः उग करके पनपने वाला वृक्ष है, जिसके पत्ते उपयोगी हैं, फल उपयोगी है। रेगिस्तान में छाया है, बकरी ऊंट भेड़ों के लिए चारा है, जिसका गोद भी उपयोगी है। वह वृक्ष है, बचना चाहिए। अब वृक्ष बचना चाहिए तो इसकी शिक्षा एक संत देता है, संत समझाता है। उस संत के पास वो ज्ञान परंपरा कहां से आती है? वो ज्ञान परंपरा इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम से कैसे बढ़ती हुई होती है। हम सब लोगों ने, भले ही हम साइंस के विद्यार्थी होंगे, कालिदास का नाम सुना, कालिदास के शाकुंतलम का नाम सुना है। शाकुंतलम एक नाटक है। शकुंतला की शादी होती है, शकुंतला विदा हो रही है और शकुंतला को एक ऋषि ने पाला है। और शकुंतला जब विदा हो रही है तो स्वाभाविक रूप से जिन्होंने पुत्री के रूप में पाला है तो उनको दुख है। अब दुख के समय एक पिता अपनी पुत्री के बचपन से लेकर के बड़े होने तक की, विवाह के दिन तक की तमाम प्रकार की घटनाओं को याद करते हैं। ऋषि शकुंतला की विदाई के समय क्या याद करते हैं? पातुम न प्रथमम यो सती जलम। आज वो मेरी बेटी विदा हो रही है जो प्रतिदिन पौधों को जल पिलाए बिना जल ग्रहण नहीं करती। यानी शकुंतला उठती है तो पहले लोटा शब्द नहीं था, मग भी शब्द नहीं था, कमंडलू में जल लेती है और किसी न किसी पौधे में जल डालती है। स्नान करके सूर्य को जल डालना अलग विषय है, अध्यात्म से जुड़ता है। पौधे में जल डालती है, फिर स्वयं जल पीती है। ये इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम, ये बतलाना कि आपके पानी पीने से ज्यादा आवश्यक है कि जो आपके दरवाजे पर पौधे लगे हुए हैं वो जिंदा रहना चाहिए। प्रकृति और पर्यावरण जो भी जितना सुरक्षित है वो भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा के कारण सुरक्षित है। शकुंतला ऐसी है, इसलिए भरत जैसा पुत्र हो जिसके नाम पर ये भारत। दूसरा प्रसंग कर्ण ऋषि याद करते याश्यत यज्ञ शकुंतला पति। आज शकुंतला अपने पति के घर में जाए तभी उसको आशीर्वाद। जैसे ही घर से बाहर निकलती है एक मृग छौना आता, मृग का बच्चा और शकुंतला के पल्लू को पकड़ लिया। शकुंतला के पल्लू को क्यों पकड़ लिया? उस मृग के बच्चे तो कालिदास याद करते हैं कि जंगल में इस मृग छौने के पैर में कांटे चुभ गए तो शकुंतला ने उसके कांटे को निकाला और एक खास प्रकार का पौधा आई हुई, उसके तेल को निकाल, उसके तेल से इसके घाव को ठीक किया था। उस मृग के बच्चे को ध्यान में आता कि जब मुझे कांटा चुभा था तो इसी लड़की ने कांटे को निकाल करके मेरी चिकित्सा की थी। आज जा रही है तो वह मृग छौना भी रो रहा। कालिदास ने बतलाया कि इस पौधे के बीज से निकला हुआ तेल घाव को भरने में सहायक है। और दूसरी बात, वन में रहने वाले लोग किस तरह से वन में विचरण करने वाले पशु पक्षियों की रक्षा करते हैं। तो प्रकृति और पर्यावरण की सुरक्षा ये हमारी ज्ञान परंपरा का हिस्सा बनता है। और यह जो ज्ञान परंपरा है इसके विलुप्त होने का परिणाम ये हुआ कि पौधों की बहुत सी प्रजातियां हमारे आंखों के सामने से समाप्त हो गई। भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा ने बतलाया कि यदि अन्न को आपने पका दिया और पका हुआ अन्न आपने फेंक दिया तो आप आपके भागी हुए। इसलिए जो अन्न पका दिया आपने उसको खाना। आज की स्थिति ये है कि भारत में 23% पका हुआ अन्न फेंका जाता, 40% की बर्बादी। बिलो पॉवर्टी लाइन एक बड़ी जनसंख्या भारत में है, उस देश में वे कौन से लोग जो पके हुए 23% अन्न की बर्बादी करें? प्रत्येक व्यक्ति वर्ष में लगभग 50 किलो अन्न बर्बाद करते, महीने में 4 किलो, प्रतिदिन हिसाब लगाओगे तो 125 ग्राम। तो लगता है कि 125 ग्राम क्या होता है, लेकिन ये 125 ग्राम 5 लोगों का परिवार है तो 2.5 क्विंटल के बराबर जाता। यह जो 23% है पका हुआ, डॉक्टर लंदन से आई, यूरोप के कई देशों की उतनी आबादी ही नहीं, यानी 15 से लोगों के खाने इतना अन्न हम पका करके फेंक देते। भैया रेस्तरां शादी जाने का उसकी बर्बादी है। जो भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को नहीं समझता है वो अपने बच्चे का हाथ नहीं पकड़ता कि बेटा 4 रसगुल्ला क्यों ले रहे हैं, थाली को उस तरह से क्यों सजा रहे हो जैसे गाय भैंसों को भोजन दिया जाता है पूरा, उतना सजा लिया और 1-2 पीस खाने के बाद किसी भी चीज का उसको जो कर क्यों डस्टबिन में डाल दिया। वो उसी के बर्बादी नहीं है जिसके शादी में गए, ये भारतीय अन्न की निशान की बर्बादी है। भारतीयों ने कहा, भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा कहती है कि पका हुआ अन्न समाप्त होने से पाप लगता। यदि ये ज्ञान बच्चों के भीतर होगा तो वह व्यक्ति हो या बच्चा उतना ही उठाएगा जितना वो खा सकता है। भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा ने समझाया कि हमारे लिए फास्ट फूड का कंसेप्ट अलग है। संस्कृत की जितनी पुस्तकें देखोगे देवदत्तम तत्वम भूषा, यानी संस्कृत में वाक्य को समझाना है तो देवदत्त एक बहुत ही लोकप्रिय पात्र है। वो खाता क्या है, सत्तू खाता। और सत्तू क्या है, किसी भी अन्न को भून दिया, मक्के को भुना, चना भून दिया, अब भून करके पीसा, वो होता है सत्तू। बनने के बाद कई तरह की बीमारियां स्वतः ही समाप्त करेंगी, उसमें कोई कोलेस्ट्रॉल नहीं। सत्तू के साथ नमक के अलावा किसी चीज की जरूरत नहीं, पानी और नमक है तो सत्तू एक कुंड हो जाए। या फिर पोहा या चूड़ा, भारत में चावल बहुतायत से पैदा होता है तो उसका पोहा बनाया, थोड़ा मोटा हुआ तो चूड़ा बनाया, उसको पानी डाल करके खाया, दूध से खाया, दही से खाया, भून करके खाया, अन्न की बर्बादी रुकी, स्वास्थ्य की संरचना बनी, उस प्रशंसा शास्त्र करते। तो कई लोगों के मन में आया होगा इस पर आपने पहला से रोटी बनाने क्यों पूछा। राज परिवारों में हमको कई बार लगता है कि राज परिवारों में बहुत शान शौकत की जिंदगी थी, ये ठीक था, राजकीय परंपरा, लेकिन उन बच्चों का प्रशिक्षण कैसे होता। राम लक्ष्मण सीता बन को जा रहे हैं, प्रयागराज में भारद्वाज ऋषि का आश्रम है, वहां वो गए और भारद्वाज ऋषि ने संगम तक उनको छोड़ा, चित्रकूट का रास्ता बता दिया कि यमुना नदी को पार करोगे चित्रकूट चलेगा। उसकी बड़ी प्रशंसा राम जी ने की। इतने अच्छे भारद्वाज ऋषि हम लोगों को छोड़ने के लिए यमुना के किनारे तक, यमुना कैसे पार करेंगे, राम जी ने लक्ष्मण को कहा नाव बनाओ, टूटी हुई लकड़ियों को लक्ष्मण केवट का प्रसंग अलग है, वो दूसरी नदी लकड़ियां लाते हैं, उन लकड़ियों को आपस में बांधते, फिर पहले सीता माता बैठती हैं, सीता माता के साथ कुछ कपड़े हैं थैले में, कुछ गहने भी, फिर राम जी बैठते हैं, लक्ष्मण लकड़ी के अपने हाथ से बनी हुई नाव को लेकर पार करते, जंगल में मूझ उसको काट करके रस पाते। दशरथ के बेटे ने इतनी कम उम्र में वनवास हो गया, तब उसने सीखा क्या ट्रेनिंग। आज हम स्किल डेवलपमेंट की बात करते हैं, नदी पार करना है तो अयोध्या के राजा दशरथ का बेटा टूटी लकड़ियों को आपस में बांधता है और बांध करके नदी पार करने का तरीका जानता है। तो भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को जो लोग समझना चाहते हैं, उनको उन शास्त्रों से आती हुई जो परंपरा है, उस परंपरा में जीवन जीने की कला सिखलाई। जब चित्रकूट गए तो चित्रकूट की झोपड़ी बनाने के लिए अयोध्या से मजदूर नहीं बनाए, लक्ष्मण ने बनाया, सीता ने मदद की, राम जी खड़े होकर के निर्देश कर कौन सी लकड़ी कहां पर लगनी चाहिए। आप वाल्मीकि रामायण को पढ़ोगे तो किस किस तरह से लक्ष्मण जी ने कौन सी लकड़ी कहां पर लगाई, किस तरह से बनाया, किस तरह से मिट्टी गोबर से लिप पोत करके उस कुटिया को तैयार किया। इसका मतलब एक राजपुत्र को, राजा के बेटे को स्किल की इतनी शिक्षा थी कि यदि घर से उसको बाहर कर दिया जाए तो अपने जीवन यापन के लिए रहने की जगह को सुरक्षित जगह बना सके। इतना सुंदर बनाया कि जब भरत जी वापस लेने के लिए आए तो वहां बहुत सी झोपड़ी बनी थी, बहुत से आश्रम बने थे, वनवासियों की जगह थी। भरत जी ने पहचान लिया कि यही कुटिया राम की है, ऐसा लगता है ये लक्ष्मण ने बना। यानी लक्ष्मण नाव बनाना भी जानते हैं, लक्ष्मण कुटिया बनाना भी जानते हैं। तो जिस विश्वामित्र ने वशिष्ठ ने पढ़ाया वो स्किल की शिक्षा दी। भारत में जातियां बहुत हैं, धर्म भी बहुत है, खान पान की विविधता भी है। हमने कुछ वर्षों में खान पान की विविधता को छोड़ा। खान पान की विविधता को छोड़ने से बीमारियां तो बढ़ी ही, पर्यावरण पर, उत्पादन पर भी असर पड़ा। 1970 तक भारत में 1,10,000 प्रकार के चावल थे, 1,10,000 प्रकार के चावल होते। आज केवल 6,000 प्रकार के चावल, 1,04,000 प्रकार के चावल कहाँ हैं? हमारी आय अच्छी है, हम केवल बासमती थे, बाजार से हमारा चावल तय, यही चावल मेरे घर में आए। हम चावल खाने वाले हैं, तो हम 20 प्रकार का चावल खा सकते हैं, किसी भी प्रकार का चावल खा सकते हैं। प्रत्येक प्रकार के चावल बिक्री कम हुई, इसलिए जो चावल बिकेगा किसान उसको पैदा करेगा। आज सवा की मांग हुई इसलिए सवा का उत्पादन हुआ, तो उसके कारण हमारी फसलें भी विलुप्त हुई। भारत उसके बावजूद खान पान के विविधता के कारण विश्व में फलों के उत्पादन में पहले स्थान पे। अब कई ऐसे फल हैं जिसमें पहले स्थान पे, आम वर्षों से भारत पहले स्थान पर, केले के उत्पादन में पहले स्थान पर, पपीता के उत्पादन में पहले स्थान में। भारत में लीची सर्वाधिक होती है, कटहल सर्वाधिक होता है, अनार सर्वाधिक होता है। और मान लीजिए कि एक बार हमारा मन ऐसा बने करोड़ों लोगों का कि हम तो केवल पपीता खाएं, आम खाने ठीक नहीं, केला खाना ठीक नहीं, इसको उत्पादन कौन करेगा? ये करनी आम्रफल, दारी, संस्कृत नाम दुनिया प्राचीन भाषाओं में अकेली संस्कृत भाषा है इसमें तमाम प्रकार के सब्जेक्ट्स पर, तमाम प्रकार के विषयों पर पुस्तकें लिखित। 140 करोड़ आबादी हम यहाँ रहते हैं। दुनिया की लगभग 900 करोड़ आबादी में कोई 17%, 18% आबादी भारत की है, लेकिन दुनिया में जो भाषाएं बोली जाती है उसका 25% भारत में बोला है। हमने उसको संरक्षित किया। हजारों भाषाएं भारत में जीवित है, इसलिए जीवित है कि प्रत्येक भाषा भाषी ने एक दूसरे की भाषा का सम्मान किया। किसी भी भारतीय भाषा माध्यम का विद्यालय, बांग्ला माध्यम का विद्यालय है, विद्यार्थी ने वहां हिंदी बोल दिया तो क्या उसका नाम काटा गया? अंग्रेजी माध्यम की पढ़ाई शुरू हुई स्कूलों में। हमको लगा कि अंग्रेजी माध्यम से नौकरी मिलेगी, हमने भेजा तो इंग्लिश नहीं बोलेगा तो उसकी पिटाई। उसके गार्जियन को अंग्रेजी आती है कि नहीं आती, उसकी परीक्षा होगी। तो एक सर्वभक्षी भाषा हमारे देश के सामने जब खड़ी हुई तो भारतीय भाषा ने मरनी शुरू हो गई। यूरोप में मर गई। अमेरिका की 30 करोड़ आबादी है तो कितनी भाषाएं हैं? इंग्लैंड में 5-6 भाषाएं हैं, सभी को अंग्रेजी के प्रभाव। भारत में आज भी हजारों की संख्या में भाषाएं जीवित। अरुणाचल प्रदेश की आबादी 15 लाख। अरुणाचल प्रदेश में 55-56 भाषाएं बोलती है। 15 लाख की आबादी के क्षेत्र में 55-56 भाषाएं क्यों जीवित है? एक दूसरे भाषा की स्वीकार्यता हमने बनाई। ये भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा। कोई भाषा कमजोर होती है तो पड़ोसी भाषा से शब्दों को ग्रहण करें। नागामी, नगा और असमिया की शब्दावली मिल गई, नागामी भाषा नहीं थी, जबकि नागालैंड में 14 डायलेक्ट। तो भारत की ज्ञान परंपरा ने मनुष्य के खान पान के को लेकर के उसकी जो पहचान है उसको हमने जीवित रखा, उसको हमने सम्मान दिया। ये भी खाता होगा, ये बाजरे की रोटी खाता है, भात खाता है, ये सत्तू खाता है, चाहे जो भी खाता है, हमको स्वाद लगेगा तो उसको हम खाएंगे। इसलिए कभी कभी किसी अन्न का उत्पादन कम हो गया भारत में तो बहुत हाई तो बार नहीं बचा, कुछ सीकर ही खाएंगे और बाद में आइसक्रीम ही खाएंगे। ऐसा नहीं, जिससे स्वास्थ्य ठीक रहता है जो जहाँ उपलब्ध हो गया। इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम में हमारे शास्त्रों भाषा के प्रति सम्मान, खान पान के प्रति सम्मान, पहनावे के प्रति सम्मान को और युगानुरूप, तो केवल रिजिडनेस नहीं है कि ऐसा कर दिया तो ऐसा ही। शंकराचार्य जी ने चारों क्षेत्रों में मत बतलाए। केरल का पुजारी बद्रीनाथ में, केरल के मंदिरों में आप जाएंगे तो नीचे धोती पहनकर जाएंगे, ऊपर कोई कपड़ा पुरुषों के लिए नहीं। लेकिन वही केरल का पुजारी बद्रीनाथ में बैठेगा तो अपने शरीर की रक्षा के लिए कोट पहनेगा, कंबल ओढ़ेगा, तो ठंड। इसलिए एक पूरी की पूरी चेन बनती महाभारत से, रामायण से और तमाम प्रकार की चीजों। और इसकी बात केवल और केवल, केवल और केवल ये भारतीयों ने नहीं की। आज के लिए विशेष रूप से केवल आयुर्वेद पर चर्चा करो। भारत के जो प्राचीन वैद्य उनकी एक बहुत बड़ी श्रृंखला
छोड़ दीजिए सर।
यहाँ के लिए मैंने नोट किया। आत्रेय, अग्निवेद, चरक, धन्वंतरी, सुश्रुत, भरद्वाज, वेद, शतुकल, पराशर, आर्य, आत्र, परु, आश्वनायन, बादरायण, कात्यायन, वैजवाकी कृष्ण बाध्रव्य उद्दालकी श्वेतेतु पांचाल गोनर्दीय गोलिका गोलिका सुगंधि शंकर संख्याएं सारे भारत के प्राचीन वैद्य जब एलोपैथ नहीं था, तीन वैद्यों ने इतने बड़े देश को चिकित्सा करके जीवित रखा और इनकी पुस्तकों का अनुवाद चौथी पांचवी शताब्दी में अरब देशों में होने लगा। इसके बहुत सारे प्रमाण ब्रिटिशर्स ने, यूरोप के विद्वानों ने उसकी चर्चा की कि भारत का आयुर्वेद कैसे पांचवी छठी शताब्दी में अरब पहुंचा। एक दो उदाहरण देकर के बात करूंगा कि ससेनिया के प्रख्यात राजा नौशेरवा के समकालीन बरजुहै ने भारतीय विज्ञान में दक्षता प्राप्त करने के लिए वो भारत आया। उसका समय 531 से 572 ईसा पूर्व के कई उदाहरण हो सकते हैं, थोड़ा लंबा होगा। इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम के साथ जब भारतीयों के मन के भीतर गर्व की अनुभूति होगी, तब समझ में आएगा कि जब कंप्यूटर नहीं था तो बनारस के या जयपुर के एक छोटे से कमरे में बैठा हुआ पंडित प्राचीन ज्योतिषी आर्यभट्ट और बराहमीर को पढ़ करके ये बतलाता था कि इतने बज के इतने घंटे इतने मिनट इतने सेकंड पर सूर्य ग्रहण लगेगा, चंद्र ग्रहण लगेगा, भारत के इस क्षेत्र में दिखेगा, यहाँ नहीं दिखेगा, दुनिया में यहाँ दिखेगा, यहाँ नहीं दिखेगा। इस गणित को भारतीय खगोल शास्त्रियों ने दिया था। उनको पृथ्वी और चंद्रमा की गति की जानकारी थी और ये पुस्तकें अरबी अनुवाद से होते हुए यूरोप के देशों तक पहुंची। चिकित्सा, खगोल शास्त्र, रसायन शास्त्र। अरब का एक वैद्य भारत में सीख करके गया और केवल त्रिफला से, त्रिफला नाम सुना हुआ है आपके बच्चों? त्रिफला, त्रिफला यानी 3 फलों का चूर्ण, हरे और आंवला और बहेड़ा। त्रिफला से बहुत सी बीमारियों की चिकित्सा अरब देशों में करता है। यानी भारत की एक एक औषधि सांप के इलाज करने वाले सिकंदर के दरबार में समादृत होते हैं। यानी भारतीय वैद्य सांपों का इलाज करना जानते, वैक्सीन बनाना जानते, 1000 वर्षों के संघर्ष और बाद में 200 वर्षों तक लोगों की गुलामी के कारण तमाम विकास की प्रक्रिया, तमाम नए पठन पाठन की स्थिति स्थगित होती थी। 200 वर्षों तक अंग्रेजों ने शासन जब अंग्रेज गए तो भारत में 15-16 विश्वविद्यालय, 34 वर्ष औसत आई और 15-16% साक्षरता। आज भी कई लोग कहते हैं कि अंग्रेजों का शासन ही बहुत सफल। 78 वर्षों की आजादी में आज हमारे पास 1100 विश्वविद्यालय प्राइवेट और सरकारी में। देश की साक्षरता 72-73%। औसत आयु हमारी 73 वर्ष हुई। और उन्होंने 2 साल जब शासन किया तो साक्षरता दी 16%, विश्वविद्यालय दिए 16। तो 16 में भी भारतीय महापुरुषों के बनाए हुए विश्वविद्यालय, कहीं प्रसाद गुप्त ने बनाया, कहीं मदन मोहन मालवीय जी ने बनाया, कहीं गांधी जी ने बनाया, कहीं रविन्द्रनाथ टैगोर ने बनाया। औसत आयु हमारी हो गई 34 वर्ष। तो 200 वर्षों के शासन में क्या हुआ, हमारी जो ज्ञान परंपरा है वो बहुत शिथिल हुई और धीरे धीरे हमारा आकर्षण उसी भाषा, उसी ज्ञान परंपरा के प्रति होते गया। जिन लोगों ने 200 वर्षों तक प्रेस करके दबा करके हमारी औसत आयु, हमारी साक्षरता को, हमारे विश्वविद्यालयों को समाप्त कर दिया। इसलिए समय है कि भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा की तरफ हम प्रवृत्त हो, उसको समझे, स्वयं का भी विकास कर पाएंगे और भारत का भी विकास कर पाएंगे और जिसको विश्व बंधु करते या उदार का नाम के वसुधैव कुटुंबकम। इस वसुधैव कुटुंब की चर्चा हो रही है। भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा ने कहा वसुधा परिवार है, पूरी धरती हमारा परिवार है। ये किसी भी देश से किसी शास्त्र में नहीं पाया है कि पूरी धरती हमारा परिवार है। ये भारतीय नॉलेज सिस्टम जो कहता है कि पूरी धरती हमारा परिवार है। आज के इस व्याख्यान के लिए इस विश्वविद्यालय के
Your valuable words, I'm sure now speaking after all of this.
बार बार क्यों लगा दस काला करवा ऐसे काला है
Sobbing.
आई वाई की एंट्री नहीं है
Excited to know the name of the second best people awardees. So yes, the countdown now begins. May I now request Dr. Professor Vikas Chaudhary Sir, Associate Dean, Faculty of Management, Vivekananda Global University, to please come up on the screen and announce the best paper awardee.
ओ भाई
Good evening, everyone. I invite Dr. Bola Chaudhary, convener of IKS Anubhuti 4.0 to come on stage, please.
कॉलेज शुरू है नाइट तक जाएगा
Team 1, which was on ecology, agriculture and sustainable economics. The winner is Mrs. Nupur Bhargav, research scholar from JNCRC University.
Please come on the stage to take your certificate.
Team 2 on governance, law and social harmony. Mr. Arpit Awasthi, assistant professor, School of Design Innovation, Mahindra University. Team 3 on education, pedagogy and knowledge transmission. Mrs. Medha Gupta, independent researcher.
Theme 4 was on health, wellness, and holistic living. And the award goes to Best Paper Award for this, Mr. Amrut Srivatsan Suryanarayanan, a student from Rebel and Dexilani. Congratulations. Philosophy, ethics, and ethics. And this award is really special, and I'm really proud of announcing this special award because it goes to Mr. Asim Purohit. Has got this award. Congratulations. Team 5, philosophy, Team 6, ICS, Innovations and Global Pathways. It goes to Mr. Pushkar Ravi, Research Scholar, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi.
अभी और चलेगी
दीदी को आपको भी बोल दो
सही में
एक बार और काम
हो जाओगा
Thanks for the conference collecting on the of this participation requires efforts and contributions of multiple stakeholders, teams, and people. May I now request Hasim sir to please come up on the stage for delivering vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, and please, dignitaries, everyone present in the audience, good evening. As you know, it was a mammoth conference, a two-day conference from start to finish. It really requires tremendous amount of effort for anyone to successfully organize this event. And our leader, Dr. Bula Chaudhary ma'am, and every member of the team really worked tirelessly over the last so many weeks to put this conference together. And in a organization setup, you cannot really conduct an event of this magnitude without the blessings and support of the senior management of the organization. So I would like to thank the senior management of VGU for giving us an opportunity to organize this conference. Also, a conference of this nature really requires a lot of dignitaries and speakers and scholars and presenters to really come, travel all the way from different parts of the country and at times even outside the country to be here. And on behalf of Vivekananda Global University, I would like to thank all of them for taking time out to be here. And no event is complete without the audience. So students and everybody sitting in the audience, you know, a very, very big round of applause for all of you. At the end, I would like to say, every end is a new beginning. So Anubhuti 4.0 is ending, but there are so many more conferences that are in store in the times to come, and looking forward to that once again. Now, from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of VGU, thank you everyone. Thank you.
As we come to the conclusion of this valedictory ceremony, it is fitting that we pause for a moment of collective reflection and national pride. In the words of Rabindranath Tagore, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, there my country awake. These words remind us of our shared responsibilities towards knowledge, unity, and the lesson. So, may I now request everyone present here to kindly rise for the national anthem.
देशभक्त बनेगा
Sind Gujarat Maratha Dravid Utpal Banga Vrinda Himachal Yamuna Ganga Ujjala Jala Taranga Tava Shubha Name Jage Tava Shubha Ashish Mage Gahe Sab Jaya Gata Jana Gana Manga Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidata Jaya He Jaya He Jaya He Jaya 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 He
चलो 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 वो भी हमें बहुत कुछ है तो
Please, Prarambh. The eighth is the
राहुल भाई यार
on this. Let's conclude a remarkable, memorable, and knowledgeable journey of Anubhuti 4.0. This brings us experience of the valedictory session of the great for the valedictory session of the conference. We now invite guests, and participants to join us to have the arrange discussion on technology blocks. Our first have done station there. Have a wonderful and positive evening. We hope to see you all again for Anubhuti 5.0. We take ahead the learning journey of the traditional knowledge. Namaste.